Boom, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. What a wild ride today for the broader market. We see at market opening a decent amount of buying pressure and momentum pushing the SPY higher. And then all of a sudden we see a retreatment, a large slide, and then a recovery at the end of the day. Crazy amount of volatility that we're seeing right now in the market. We're seeing Palantir that is continuing to accumulate in market capitalization and actually doing very, very well with some of the uncertainty that we're seeing in the market and more just the hesitancy. The hesitancy is the big Magnificent Seven stocks that will be releasing their earnings in just the next few days. We have Apple, Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. These are big companies that are going to give us a lot of insight on how consumer confidence is showing, AI revenue, how that's playing out, the effect on the tariffs, especially we're going to be looking at Apple. So big key players, and that's why we're seeing some uncertainty. We're going to be breaking it all down for you. Hit that like button, subscribe. It really helps the algorithm. I can't thank you guys enough. Now let's start off with Palantir Technologies. Ever since I basically predicted that we were going to break that $100 level of resistance. And it's not like, hey, I'm the one that made this call. $100 was a strong level of resistance for Palantir. So I think anybody that was bullish on the stock was anticipating that once that $100 level of resistance was broken, that we were going to continue to see buying pressure and possibly retesting kind of these all-time highs, possibly in the near future. I think that's going to be dependent on earnings from the Mag 7 stocks. However, that's what we're seeing playing out, and it's coming to fruition on this daily basis. Palantir is doing decently better than the market right now. Up at $114, doing very well. You can see there's a lot of confidence coming back into Palantir. Closing here 114, like I said, and currently in the overnight hours at 115. Palantir does not have a ton of trading history above the $100 zone, so I'm not going to sit here all day, talk to you about technicals, but it's following the same retracement and recent price action that we've seen with its run to 125. What I really like about Palantir in this market, especially with an uncertainty, and CNBC even comes out with this interesting article here talking about how Palantir is soaring while its tech peers are sinking. Here's why. Kind of the whole broader overview of this article, we don't have to read it word for word, is that Palantir is really in this niche spot in terms of its relationship with the government, in terms of what its software and its products are actually doing, is bringing a lot of AI to the table. And with a lot of the governmental, we see initiatives for, budget cuts. We've seen this with defense budget cuts across the board with the Department of Government Efficiency. Palantir's job is to kind of help improve efficiency, reduce waste by bringing these kind of AI solutions to multiple different areas, basically finding utility for any type of company that it can with its boot camps. And it's basically doing that for the government. So the fact that Palantir is reducing, these waste and costs for specific companies by bringing a very efficient workflow is very, very beneficial. And this is where Palantir, we've talked about it before, kind of sits as an outlier. And talking about tariffs, Palantir does a majority of its revenue. We know a lot of ties with the U.S. government. It's not like it is subject to a lot of revenue constraints from China. It does not have a lot of involvement with China. So the fact that Palantir is really highly aligned here with the priorities of the Trump administration. And that's true in terms of kind of increasing this agility and being very quick to the market. So we see this here that Palantir is doing a great job. And what we've even seen with Alex Karp, he's came out to say that Palantir does well when times are bad. So with this inclusion here and the fact that CNBC large outlooks are starting to cover Palantir, it's made remarkable accomplishments and milestones within the last few years. And the fact that its earnings are now coming up here in just the next few weeks, a lot of eyeballs are looking at Palantir. I could possibly see here, you can see even here some analysts talking about that, a possible retracement and retest to the February high of almost 125 in the near to medium term. That could entirely be a possibility. And that is just because, like we said, emerging, also working not only with the government and kind of establishing those key, contracts, but also integrating with Google Cloud and starting to establish these relationships with big key players. And a bullish thing about Google is that they just had a very impressive earnings report. So now that you're seeing that Google, Palantir are starting to work together, bringing this FedStart project here, basically allowing different types of federal agencies to utilize Palantir's apps using Google's cloud, you can see that Palantir is fitting right into this AI goal that America has. One cool thing that I'm also seeing, Palantir posted this on how over 75 Palantirians have basically left the company and come back, and they're called, boomerangs. You can see that a lot of people are staying, I guess you couldn't say loyal because they left the company, but are realizing the true power of Palantir, and it looks like it's a great company to work for. What I kind of take away from this is that, sharing these stories of the employees shows you that Palantir has a great amount of appreciation and acknowledgement for their employees, and also their employees at the same time have a great amount of appreciation and acknowledgement for Palantir. The fact that they're coming, trying different companies and realizing, hey, I'm going to come back to Palantir because it was better. So it's great to see that, and I like seeing that specifically with what's happening within a company. Cool to see these employee stories that they are, bringing transparency to. Regarding the market today, like I said, we had started off well, reversed, slid down, and then kind of recovered towards the end. S&P basically finishes just slightly in the green at 0.06%. NASDAQ just slightly down, basically consolidating on the day. One of the big things is that we had a good amount of buying pressure in the market last week. We have to remember that, SPY, S&P 500, the VU did very, very well. So just the fact that, I don't think the market wants to get too far ahead of itself, and that is because with the negotiations, with kind of all this talk about the tariff negotiations, when we talk about tariffs, I think Wall Street is starting to get sick of hearing about these possible negotiations, and they want to see actual deals being made. I think once we see actual deals being made, that is when we're going to see buying confidence coming back into the market, because we're seeing proof in the pudding, not just talk. You got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. It's basically what's happening right now with the tariffs. I have seen rumors out there that Trump could possibly be actually reducing the auto tariffs here in the next few days at some type of convention or place. I didn't look too far into it just because I don't like to buy into rumors too much or share that information with you guys, but I did see it out there. So if that does come to fruition, if that is a reality, if those rumors do actually play out to be true, then hey, we saw it a little bit beforehand. There could possibly be a reduction in the auto tariffs. Like I said, I don't know. The whole tariff thing is starting to get pretty crazy. We'll see what happens with that. One of the big things, though, that we're going to be looking at is the Magnificent Seven stocks. On top of that, a lot of you guys like to hear about what's happening with Tesla. Tesla is at 285 right now. Has also made a decent recovery ever since kind of consolidating here in the mid 250s. One cool thing that I saw here that Amit, another content creator that I like to watch, he posted about an insider right here. The director, Joseph, has disclosed a $1 million insider purchase of Tesla stock, saying that he bought 4,000 shares at 256. And this is the first Tesla insider buy since 2010. So the fact that we haven't seen an insider buy for that long, just closed $1 million, is this just, hey, a coincidence or some type of thing? Or is Tesla about to go on type of some run? Is this some type of foreshadowing that maybe could be very lucrative? Who knows? But where Tesla sits right now in the overnight hours is at 288. Great to see, though, that the director at least here is disclosing, this insider purchase. That's a pretty big purchase at $256 per share. The fact that Tesla is already back up at 288. With the Mag 7 stocks, like I said, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, those are going to be big key players. Apple, I think, is going to be giving us a decent insight in terms of the reaction to the tariffs, how it's going to be happening with the iPhones. That's going to be a big key player for their company, and since it has such a heavy weight in terms of market capitalization in the broader market. Microsoft, and I think, Meta, you could say Amazon, are probably going to give us a decent insight, probably Microsoft more on, how is the actual AI boom doing in terms of revenue? are these large tech companies seeing a lot of return on their investment with AI? Is it being worthwhile? I think as long as we see a continuation of that in these revenue metrics, and especially AI revenue metrics that continue to increase, I think the industry is still going to continue to grow in terms of an AI perspective, and we will continue to see bullishness throughout the market. The big things that will be occurring is, consumer confidence. We also have the April jobs report and the volatility with how earnings is going to go. That's where we're seeing hesitancy. But I think we're going to see bullishness across. One of the big key indicators from that earnings was Google. Just slam dunked it. And we got Palantir coming up next week. So big things in the horizon right here. We also have big stocks like Visa, Coca-Cola, I believe, and even releasing their earnings. So strap your bootstraps because here we go. Peace out. Take care. I'll catch you guys later.